Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Country with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. Our first official roundup of 2022. Yes, last roundup was filmed on New Year's Day, but that still dealt with comics that were released in 2021. This is the first one focusing on comics releasing in 2022. So we'll kick things off with Inferno, number 4. Where we left off, Moira was in the clutches of, was thought to be in the clutches of Orchis, was actually in the clutches of Mystique and Destiny, who had been told of her status of still being alive and whatnot by Emma Frost. Xavier and Magneto went to an Orchis base in Terra Verde in the hopes of saving Moira, but found nothing but her severed arm. When Nimrod, Omega Sentinel, and a whole bunch of Orchis commandos showed up. So, the conclusion. We open with a quote from Omega Sentinel, "This is how little you matter," and pick up at the Orchis base in Terra Verde, with Nimrod and Omega Sentinel basically staring at one another, staring at Magneto and Xavier, who are staring back, and the commandos are promptly wiped out by Omega Sentinel and Nimrod, because that is how little they matter. And so the fight becomes between Nimrod and Omega Sentinel and Xavier and Magneto. With both of them asking where Moira is, and wanting to know desperately where she is, because, well, killing her would lead to resetting everything. But Moira is on Krakoa, in her no place, and she's apparently shot by Mystique. And we get a flashback. Apparently, when Emma was telling Moira, or was telling Mystique and Destiny about Moira, she gave them something else. A gun made by Forge that could turn off mutation. Makes a mutant human. Well, Miss Emma has it. And she turns out that Mystique was among those that Mystique was manipulating things in such a manner so that she could capture Moira. And Mystique's presence at the Terra Verde base was discovered by Nimrod and Omega Sentinel, which led to them which is why they went to Terra Verde. But so yeah, Mystique turns Moira into a human again, into a human. With Moira saying she wants to save mutant kind, but Destiny pointing out that no, she has no desire to save mutant kind. She wishes to cure mutant kind, which Moira states is true. She does. But Nimrod kills Xavier. Magneto seemingly kills Omega Sentinel. The fight becomes between Magneto and Omega Sentinel, and it seems as though Magneto loses. and the two, Xavier and Magneto are dead, die in Terra Verde. But before the decision is before Mystique can actually kill Moira, she's interrupted by Cypher, who Issue 3 revealed had seeded, had used some of Warlock's techno-organic materials to stabilize the island, which also allowed Warlock and Krakoa to see everything going on within the island, even in the no places. And in fact, he had seen the meeting between Moira, Xavier, and Magneto, wherein Moira said that they needed to make sure there was no way Destiny could be brought back, and that Mystique needed to be removed from the council somehow. But of course, Cypher isn't alone. His wife, Bay the Blood Moon, is there, and Krakoa is also watching, and Warlock is on his arm. But Warlock prevents Moira's murder by basically stating that, he knows about everything, and yeah. The first law of Krakoa: kill no human. But Moira's freed and released. She's allowed to pass through a gate and told that she can never pass through a gate again. Warlock replaces her arm with a techno-organic arm. And Warlock delivers quite possibly the harshest burns I've ever heard by telling Moira, "Good luck, self-not friend." I mean, seriously, that line right there, that's on par with telling someone, "You're not the person Mr. Rogers knew you could be." Like, seriously. And we've learned that, yes, that scene from the first issue where Magneto and Xavier were resurrected by Emma is a result of their battle with Nimrod. But decisions have been made. All the members of the Quiet Council now know the truth about Moira. And anyone who becomes a member will learn the truth. The basic idea is that the Quiet Council is a curse, not just a burden. But it really does show a massive power play on Emma's part. If nothing else, Emma is very much more the leader of the council, I would say, at this point, than Magneto and Xavier. But and the issue seemingly ends with the council sitting down for business once again. March is seeing the return of X books in a big way, as this past month we've seen pretty much everything end. There will be some new titles, however, including Immortal X-Men, which will focus on the Council. X-Men writer Jerry Dugan has summed it up as being the new Avengers to his Avengers, making a reference to Jonathan Hickman's run on Avengers years and years ago. Anyway, so yeah, Inferno, wow, that was quite the ending. They've definitely got themselves a new enemy. And people have been kind of theorizing that maybe that was Moira's plan all along, was to cure mutants rather than save them. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got X-Men number 6. And we've also got ourselves a variant cover. I love these variant covers based on the X-Men the 90s X-Men Series 1 trading cards. A little bit of history. The X-Men Series 1 trading cards were all drawn by artist Jim Lee, who, if I remember correctly, now is currently the chief creative officer at for DC Comics. He was also one of the Image founders, but yeah, a few years, about 5 years or so ago, maybe. Marvel was used a lot of the images of Jim Lee's artwork from those cards for a series of variant covers of X-Men books. I've actually got one of them, an issue of Weapon X, which uses the Warpath card. But yeah. Anyway, where we left off, Ben Urich was about to publish a story he felt would probably win him a Pulitzer about Mutant Resurrection. And he gave Cyclops a heads up. So the issue begins with a new hero showing up and saving a cat from a tree and saving others in need. And we then flash back to 6 days ago on Krakoa, with Cyclops saying he will not have Captain Krakoa on the team. However, the council votes unanimously against him. Meanwhile, Fei Long, our billionaire, our evil billionaire, is heading towards one of the moons of Phobos, and Sunfire is on his way to basically return him home. But Fei Long has no intention of leaving home. He has arrived on the moon Phobos. When he refuses to acknowledge the planet below by the name that its new inhabitants have dubbed it, but it's made clear that one of the mutants of Araco, however, heads to Phobos for the purpose of taking on and killing Fei Long. And yeah, Fei Long has modified himself in such a manner so that he's able to practically obliterate the mutant in question. We learned that drone ships carried everything on the hour, bringing everything Orgus would need for a permanent base above Araco. Gravity was increased. Fei Long used his immense wealth to encase Phobos in technology that made it both a Dyson ring and a greenhouse. Also, they found during a survey of the surface, the corpse of Nightcrawler was discovered, which was incorporated into the fabrication of the science station. So yeah, Phobos is now an Orcus base. At the treehouse, there's a vigil for Cyclops, apparently. Seemingly Apocalypse has died, though as Captain Krakoa enters the treehouse, he is Cyclops. But he uses the hidden subway entrance and to clear his head, and Scott calls Ben Urich, saying he was a friend of Cyclops's, and has some things to say concerning the story that Urich could win a Pulitzer. But Ben Urich has no idea what he's talking about, and he'd remember a big Pulitzer-worthy story, stating that next to tomorrow's paper isn't exactly investigative journalism. Adding that he's never met Cyclops, but he seemed like a good guy, and he offers Scott condolences. And turns out the morning edition of the Daily Bugle will be about Fei Long claiming Phobos for humanity, and that is where the issue ends. There have been a lot of theories about what the implications of things. So apparently, they believe Cyclops is dead, but yeah. The theory that makes sense is that Cyclops' death is faked, so that the Orcus autopsy report no longer means anything, and that the telepaths of Krakoa have scrubbed Ben Urich's memory of everything concerning the article. Which, honestly, that makes perfect sense. So, yeah. I don't like it, and the idea is that Scott doesn't like it either, which is why he's loath to be Captain Krakoa. But anyway, X-Men is the beginning interesting. There was some worry on quite a few fronts that Dugan's X-Men book was going to be very much the antithesis of Hickman's the Hickman era, but I think that it's actually kind of carrying things well. And as stated previously, it's going to soon have a companion book in the form of Immortal X-Men, focusing on the Quiet Council. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Star Wars Dr. Aphra, number 17. Where we left off, Domina Tage had tasked Dr. Aphra with tracking down other Ascendancy artifacts. The Ascendancy being a society that from the old Republic era that basically tried to use technology to replicate Force abilities, namely Sith abilities, though. And she tracked down someone she knew on her and her partner Sarna Staros had tracked down someone on Coruscant that she knew to be whom Aphra knew to deal in Ascendant artifacts. But the issue begins aboard the Inquisitor, the Tage Corporation HQ. Ronan Tage has just got a box tank and discusses wants to know what he's missed, and also what's to become of the share of his late uncle Silas, whom Domina killed during a failed assassination attempt. But he also kind of makes it known he has a play for the corporate to be in charge of the corporation itself, which, well, Domina makes it clear that he's welcome to make a move, but it won't end well for him. So, on Coruscant, at Taste Scanner's residence, Dr. Aphra and Sana are face to face with Kofon Ferris, who claims to be her sworn Dr. Aphra's sworn nemesis. She tends to pretend that she's a Jedi, and seems she's trying to conduct a ritual with a Sith ritual, and she's got a thought dowser. She also has other Ascendancy artifacts. The fake lightsaber she's carrying is, in fact, an Ascendancy energy. It is known as the Whip of Sorrows, which drains the energy from Sana's blaster pistol, and then she uses the whip to redirect the energy through Aphra's arm. It hurts, but yeah, still there. But seemingly, though, she does manage to levitate the severed arms she used for her ritual to attack Sana and Aphra. She escapes, and Sana and Aphra are trying to figure out what's going on, but they realize that she used magnets to control the arms, and they intend to go after her, or at least get a hold of find the contacts that find the contacts that Aphra's contact had when it came to Ascendancy artifacts. Brintal 4, the Archivist, who's also a former Sith and a high-ranking member of Crimson Dawn, contacts Ko, asking how her research is proceeding, or is progressing, saying she hadn't found what the Archivist seeks, but she will. And apparently, Co is being funded by, obviously, Crimson Dawn. Now, theory here, but the theory I'm going with is that clearly Crimson Dawn means to go up against the Empire. And and as they are aware that the Emperor himself is a Dark Lord of the Sith, and in fact, the Emperor's right-hand man, Darth Vader, is also a Dark Lord of the Sith. Well, you gotta find a way to get around Force powers. The Ascendancy was working on doing such things, so why not get Ascendancy artifacts? That's kind of my theory, is that they have a Crimson Dawn means to go after the Empire and actually bring down Vader and the Emperor. And that is where the issue ends. Very interesting stuff, I gotta say. Moving on to our next book, we've got Magic the Gathering, number 10. Number 10. That's the Planeswalker Angrath on the cover there. Angrath is a Minotaur Planeswalker who's a pirate captain on planet Ixalan. I don't believe he's from Ixalan, but yeah. So where we left off, our heroes, Vraska, Ral, Zarek, and Kaya had teamed together a bunch of other planeswalkers to get Merit Lodge to go to, rather than go to Ravnica, to instead go to Amonkhet, where she could really do no harm, as every living being on Amonkhet had since been gone to someplace else after the Day of Reckoning. So they're dealing with the zombies, but then Merit Lodge arrives. However, someone is watching them from a distance. I'm presuming Tezzeret, but I could be wrong. But the whole idea is that they intend to the zombies of Amonkhet are to be basically made into thralls whose whole purpose for being is to worship Merit Lodge. And Jace states that his connection to Merit Lodge is severed, and so all the Planeswalkers head back, and so it's just him and Vraska. And Vraska states that Jace should go, and he tells her, "You first," but then or Jace states that she should go, and she says, "You first," but then she realizes that Jace plans to sacrifice himself on Amonkhet. And so they kiss. When the rest of them return to Dominaria, though, Kaya realizes Vraska's not with them, and so she goes back to Amonkhet. And seemingly rescues Vraska as the asteroid which Merit Lodge is encased in, touches down. Vraska's not happy because, well, she made her choice. Her choice was to stay there with Jace and die with him. But the trio returned the next day to Ravnica, and it seems that while they were gone, Planeswalkers are no longer held in any kind of good regard on Ravnica, and that is where the issue ends. First and foremost, I just want to say I don't think that we've seen the last of Jace Beleren. There's a long-standing trope in fiction. If you don't see the body, they're not actually dead. We don't actually see Jace's body, so yeah. We'll see how this all plays out. Also, to be curious to see who was watching everything from afar. I gotta say, I get where Vraska's coming from, though. I mean, she was willing to just stay there with, Jace, whom she loved, and she wasn't able to. She was taken away from there. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what's happening in Ravnica, though. That's for damn sure. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got the Nocterra Blacktop Bill special. So you might remember Nocterra. We covered it a bit this past year. It's a creator-owned book by Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel, taking place on Earth after the Big PM, where it's basically night all the time. So Blacktop Bill was a major villain through that first arc, and we get this is his origin. Turns out he used to be a hitman for the mob, who went after hitmen. And then his whole shtick is killing people that survived disasters that should have killed them. Killing hitmen, that was his day job. Like, putting in a shift to the gas. That was just putting in a shift to the gas station for him. Killing survivors of events that should have left none. That was his passion. But he bonded to something that allowed him to hide from shades, unless he's bleeding. But our heroine is advised to make sure to hope that she doesn't become a passion project of Bill's, because then things will be bad, and that is where the issue ends. And it does seem, though, that she is a passion project for him now. But that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.